everyone, it's Sherry Carroll with Hero Arts, here to bring you a nice card made with the Stamp and Emboss stripe and frame. I've stamped and embossed on two of the Hero Arts papers to get a nice clean and simple layering effect. I've added texture by adding some flowers and raising up my little message piece in the frame. To start my card off, I have the stamp, I have it mounted on my Fiskars press, and I also have the embossing folder. With this set, you're going to want to stamp first. So right now I'm just using my Versamark ink because I'll be white embossing. And I'm using some of the Hero Arts blush designer papers. And first I want to use my anti-static bag before I stamp. So I'll just spread this around. And now I can go ahead and stamp my stripes and frame onto my designer paper. Once I have my image all stamped, I can pour my embossing powder over the paper. Then I'll just give a little bit of a tap on the back of the paper or on the front, and you can see where the powder sticks to the Versamark. And now I'll just heat set with my heat gun. And I usually like to keep my heat gun moving around so that it doesn't burn the paper. I've also stamped the same stripes and frame image onto a piece of pool cardstock, and this is from our layering papers. It's the lightest color pool. Again, tapping off the excess, and you can see where the image or the powder sticks to the image where the Versamark was. And again, I'll heat emboss. I'm inking up the newspaper background stamp with soft pool ink, and I'm just going to stamp this onto my pool color piece here. And the easiest way I find to do this when I'm using a large stamp like this is to just lay my paper on top of the ink stamp, and then I can press around. And I'm going to press really well in because I do have the raised surface of the embossing powder, so I'm going to rub my fingers around quite a bit. And I'm using this background stamp, so I just get a little bit of interest in the background of the pool paper. It'll be a nice tone-on-tone. What I want to do is to trim down my pieces since I've used a full length of the cardstock, so I'm just cutting it into a more manageable size for the embossing folder. To use our embossing folders, you're going to see the Sizzix side up, and then you can go ahead and line up your image from the inside. Even using white ink, you can still see it through the transparent folder. Next, I'll be using my Big Shot machine, and I'm going to go ahead and put my platform in, and I flipped it over to use tab 1. Once I put one of my cutting pads in, I can put my embossing folder in and another cutting pad. I like to try to keep my fingers in there to keep it from moving around. Once I have it set, you can go ahead and feed it through. And you guys can't see this, but I have my coffee over here and I'm kind of pushing it off to the side. Okay, so once you've pushed it through your machine, now you have a great embossed stripes image. Cutting out the little frame portion of my blush paper, and I've already done the embossing folder on my pool piece. So I'm just finishing this up, and now I can put things together. To start the assembly of my card, I want to go ahead and stamp a greeting onto my little frame. So I've chosen Merci beaucoup, and I'll just be white embossing this onto my little frame. So first I'm putting it onto my stamp press, inking it with Versamark ink, of course using my anti-static bag. Then I'll line this up, and sorry, you'll see my big head. Once I line this up, then I can go ahead and press in place. And then I can use my white embossing powder, and I can heat set it. And now that I have all my pieces and parts, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card, and I'm using my adhesive. And since I have an embossed piece, I am running my adhesive actually onto a white card that I've made from cardstock, and it's a top folding card. So I've put the adhesive down, and now I am just laying my first piece in place, and this is the pool paper that's been white embossed and then dry embossed with the embossing folder. So press that in place. Now I have a little excess piece that I cut off from my blush piece, and I can go ahead and add this to the bottom of the card. So I'm just running my adhesive. Now this time I will go ahead and put adhesive on the pool piece because that'll be hidden underneath. And now I'll just press this part in place. I've cut a little border piece out of white cardstock, and I'll just go ahead and put my adhesive on this. And this will just kind of cover the seam between the two pieces, and it just gives it interest and a nice place to cut off. And then again, some other blush layering paper, which will be a little darker. And I just think it adds a really nice contrasting color. And another finishing touch that I'm doing is I added a little bit of dimensional tape to the back of the frame, and so I'll just go ahead and remove the backing, and then I can put it in place. So the next thing I'll want to do is to add my flowers, and I have some glue dots here, and I'll just go ahead and put a glue dot to the back of the flower, and then put it onto the front of the card. To finish my card off, I added a large pearl and a few medium pearls in the white flowers. I also added a few of the white flowers down towards the bottom with a little bit of twine wrapped around and tied in a bow. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and please remember to visit us at www.heroarts.com, and thanks for watching!